Welcome to stunning Sri Lanka as a new day dawns on the iconic rock of Sigiriya right in the heart of the country. Sri Lanka is made for touring. There's so much to see and do, and all in a country roughly the same size as Ireland. In this video, I'm going to show you some of Sri Lanka's best known tourist destinations, as well as some of the more off the beaten track places to help you plan your dream Sri Lanka trip. Travelling as a guest of Sri Lankan Airlines and Jetwing, Sri Lanka's largest hotel group, I spent 6 weeks touring the island in January and February 2023. So let's start at the beginning, in Colombo, Sri Lanka's capital and the international gateway. We stayed at Jetwing's Colombo 7, located in the leafy residential area of Cinnamon Gardens. It's a contemporary hotel with the advantage of a rooftop bar, 2 restaurants and a spa, and an infinity pool with superb city views. The best and cheapest way to get around is by tuk-tuk. There are many notable sites, museums, gardens and temples to visit. Or how about something a bit different? A tuk-tuk safari to one of the busiest working areas in the city, the Petta district. Samir was our guide.
I'm glad you're driving.
Normally city tour means always taking the common places, right? So we're just taking the people out of beaten track, and then you see the people how they work hard, the real life of Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
So and you taste the real Sri Lankan food, and it's like, you know, you can feel, it's like feeling tour.
Yeah.
Whatever you're seeing, it's like life.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
not organized.
And it's so exciting because everywhere is so vibrant and noisy and colourful. You explaining it all to us just brings the whole thing to life.
For me, it's simple, but this is the things what I want to show to the world.
Leaving the hustle and bustle of Colombo behind, we headed south to explore some of Sri Lanka's best known beach resorts. First stop, Bentota. Saman Villas is one of Jetwing's most luxurious properties, with a spectacular setting, perched on a rocky promontory between 2 stretches of golden sand. Wonderful beaches for walking and, when conditions allow, water sports.
You know you're in for something special when you arrive. There really is an incredible wow factor. You come in through reception, up the steps, and then you see the beautiful infinity pool just literally suspended over the sea. The rooms are also a really strong selling point. They're all individual villas, 2 stories, some with pools and some with complete privacy.
The interior design of the villas is cool and contemporary, with local textiles and artwork and luxurious bathrooms. The food and service here is also exceptional. Understandably, the hotel is especially popular for honeymooners. A stay at Saman Villas is all about beachside relaxation, but for a change of scene, the renowned Luna Ganga estate is just 10 minutes drive away.
Well, this is one of the most popular excursions you can do in the Bentota area, to visit the home of celebrated architect Geoffrey Bower. World famous for his tropical modernism buildings, lots of the hotels in Sri Lanka were designed by Geoffrey Bower, as well as others around the world. And at his home here, he bought the land, a rubber plantation, in 1948, and didn't do anything with it until 1983 when he started building this property. So it's a wonderful tour to take and understand his unique perspective on art and architecture, as well as enjoy these beautiful gardens.
Heading further south, our next stop was the busy town of Galle, a popular place to base yourself on this stretch of coast. We stayed at Jetwing Lighthouse. With its dramatic entrance, this iconic hotel, built on a rocky outcrop, was designed by none other than Geoffrey Bower.
The sheer scale of this hotel may at first seem a little bit daunting, with its modern, almost brutalist design. But it doesn't take long to begin to appreciate how the architecture is in complete harmony with its environment. Geoffrey Bower was obsessive
about the details of light and airflow. And once you're here, you really begin to feel and appreciate that.
The 86 rooms are spread across 3 blocks, arranged around 2 large swimming pools and expansive lawned gardens. There's also a spa, gym and a choice of restaurants. This is the Coat of Arms bar, one of several bars in the hotel. And when you look around, you'll find more than a few hints that this is the preferred hotel for teams visiting to play at the Gaul Cricket Stadium. 15 minutes down the road, a visit to the famous Gaul Fort is almost compulsory. Allow at least 3 hours to explore with a local guide who can unpeel the layers of history spanning Portuguese, Dutch and finally British rule. And a bonus of the Gaul Fort tour at the end is you get this fantastic view of the Gaul Cricket Stadium, home to international test cricket and considered to be one of the most picturesque grounds in Sri Lanka, and also, according to the Sri Lankans, one of the luckiest. The noise today is not because of the cricket, it's because of the school kids who have piled up here to see it at the very end. All cricket fans, of course. Whale watching is another popular activity from Gaul. So it's an early start, 5:30, setting off from the hotel for a 45-minute drive to Marissa. And now we're off on our big whale watching adventure. We're hoping to see blue whales and fin whales, but actually you can see the whole family of whales as they migrate along this coastline. They're in the waters the whole year round apparently, but December to April is when the waters are at their calmest. So we're just going out now, eyes peeled, looking on the horizon. We saw blue whales probably at least a dozen times. It's so thrilling to see them come up out of the water. Of course, it's almost impossible to film because they're up and then they're down again. But the thrill of it is well worth coming out on this experience. If a beach holiday is at the top of your agenda, the West Coast has plenty to choose from, each with its own appeal. Close to the equator, coastal temperatures are consistently hot and humid. Here now on the west coast, in the winter months, it's surf season, and that switches to the east coast in our summer months. Rain patterns are more complicated, and like everywhere in the world these days, harder to predict. But you can find sunshine somewhere all year round. And even when it does rain, it's the warm tropical kind. There are many more beach options if you keep following the coast road east. But we were heading inland to join the motorway for the fastest route to our next stop, Yala National Park. Wedged between the Indian Ocean and the national park, Jetwing Yala is a luxurious haven in a coastal wilderness, with sustainability and conservation at its core. Safaris run twice daily from the hotel, and with the entrance to the park only 15 minutes drive away, you're quickly immersed in a wonderland of wildlife. Sri Lanka has a staggering 26 national parks, but Yala is perhaps the best known internationally. It has more vehicles than most, and regular sightings of the animal everyone hopes to see, the elusive leopard. So we were just going gently along, but our guide Chianti has just had a call that they've spotted a leopard somewhere, so now he's putting his foot down to get us there ahead of the other vehicles. Unfortunately, everyone got the same call. Okay, well, we finally got to the front of the queue where the leopard was, but he's sloped off, so we're just going to wait a little while just to see if he comes back. And on safari, patience pays dividends. for the national park, and with good reason, because the safari side of it is great fun. But actually there's a lot more to discover in this area, not least this beautiful coastal landscape. Jetwing Yala is absolutely magnificently positioned to enjoy all of this.
From Yala, we headed further up the east coast to Potterville. A long drive, but as always, with no shortage of interest along the way. They drive on the left in Sri Lanka, but other than that, the rules of the road are quite different. Signage isn't always great, there's lots of horn honking involved, not to mention potholes and occasionally more unusual hazards in the road.
So whilst you can hire a car and drive yourself, what the vast majority of tourists do is opt for a driver guide. It's by far the better option, way less stressful, and there's so much to see and enjoy along the way.
Arriving at Jetwing Surf, I'm struck yet again by the unique design, perfectly suited to its location and the East Coast's hot climate. Accommodation is in individual luxury cabanas, constructed entirely from local materials and naturally ventilated by the ocean breeze. Jetwing Surf is a beachside resort with one of Sri Lanka's most famous surf spots just 10 minutes down the road.
Well, this is the famous Arugam Bay, a well-known spot for surfers. And during the surfing season that runs from May to October, this whole bay would be packed with surfers of all levels, from beginners right through to experts. People come from all over the world to surf here. But we're here in January and it's a completely different story. But that doesn't mean it's not a good time to visit. In fact, it's actually better if you're not actually crazy about surfing. The temperatures are much lower. It's a lovely, balmy 28 degrees today. And in the area, there's lots more to see and do.
Kumana National Park is well worth visiting, scenically very different to Yala and especially well known for its bird life and as a corridor for elephants.
So beautiful. When they cut the engine, you can actually sit and observe the animals. We haven't seen another vehicle this afternoon in the park. It's just like a dream, this dream scene.
As an alternative to a safari, much closer to the hotel, you can support local fishermen who supplement their incomes by running sunset boat trips on the Urani River.
Well, this is exciting. We've only been going for about 10 minutes. We've already seen water buffalo crossing the river, eagles flying overhead, and we're now onto our second crocodile. This area is... Oh, he's just jumped in. This area is teeming with wildlife.
There's also plenty of cultural interest. A visit to the local market is always fun. And there are ancient monasteries and impressive temples to explore. From coast to countryside, our next stop was Wellawaya, a small rural town and home to one of Jetwing's most remarkable properties, Kadiraketa.
Jetwing Kadiraketa really is a unique property, paving the way for a new kind of visitor experience based on agro-tourism. In other words, agricultural tourism focused on soil-based farming. In this case, of the country's staple food, rice. The design of this hotel really blends in with the environment. The villas are spread throughout the property, either in the woods or with wonderful views over these paddy fields. Simply furnished in a sort of rustic style, but very comfortable, and each has its own private terrace. There's an impressive entrance with the lobby area. Loads of history and photographs of the local farmers to get you involved in the story that surrounds you. You then walk through into the open-air dining room, and just below that you've got a gorgeous pool
with lots of space for lounging and just drinking in these amazing views.
The property extends to 60 acres, with 50 acres given over to local farming families who cultivate the paddy fields using traditional farming methods. The organic rice produced is used by the hotel and the surplus shared with other Jetwing properties. Local villagers also find work at the hotel, and in a rather lovely full circle, guests are invited to experience local life. I took a walk with Prabhat to visit his village home and share lunch with the family.
Exciting. To go cooking with Prabhat's mother. So Prabhat's mother, Suryavati, has made us this amazing lunch. Thank you very much. Stuti. And was your grandmother a good
Yes.
cook? All the family good cooks.
Yes.
Yeah. You are a very lucky boy.
I like it. My grandmother was a dal curry. Wow.
The best.
Yes.
These farming lands are at the base of the Central Province Hills, where water in the shape of lakes or waterfalls is never far away. From nearby Ella, a climb to the top of Little Adams Peak gave us a taste of what was to come as we headed north and up. Ella is a popular tourist hub for backpackers, and it also has a rather famous railway bridge. As a change from a transfer by road, we took the train from Ella station, heading up country to Noora Elia, a fun 3.5-hour scenic ride.
You really do have to take a train ride at some point because it's a real experience. And you might think that being in first class is the one to go for, but actually first class is air conditioned and the windows are closed. So if you want to get the great views, you really need to be in second class and be prepared to hang out the window and take it all in. Well, we've arrived at Noora Elia and it's raining. No surprise, we're high up in the mountains, 1900 metres. This is Sri Lanka's highest town. Established by the British in the early 19th century and still known as Little England. Noora Elia itself is a working town and people largely come to stay here in one of the grand old colonial properties. And we're staying here at Jetwing St Andrews. And in these colonial style hotels, you've got everything that you would associate with a British country club. So here, for example, at St Andrews, you've got this atmospheric snooker room. They light log fires in the evenings. They even put hot water bottles in your bed at night. Not that it is that cold for the Brits, but for the Sri Lankans, they feel like it's very cold up here in the hills. There's also a bit of a golf theme going on with the name of the restaurant and the bar, and all the staff, their uniform is cords and sweaters. It is exactly as the colonialists wanted it, a home away from home in the tea plantations.
A tour of one of the big tea factories, many still using original machinery, is an education in the entire tea production process. And at Warwick Gardens with General Manager Dinesh, I discovered a more hands-on approach.
Here we are doing artisanal tea making process. So we are using some very old method 100 years ago that people were using some method to manufacturing their own tea inside their houses. So we are trying to save those methods for the future.
To keep that history and the culture alive, which is so important.
You can see that those hand rolling processes and that Wangedi method. Name of the pound is Wangediya in our language, Sinhala. So this is tea made by using Wangediya. We call Wangedi tea, Sri Lankan Wangedi tea.
It's great to see the process, so
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Of course, now we get to taste. So this is the Wangedi tea, and then this one is the hand-rolled tea. Champion tea. Okay, thank you.
Yes, we're still in Sri Lanka, But in the early morning mist, we were feeling strong Scotland vibes as we set off in Horton Plains, Sri Lanka's highest national park, and the only one you can explore on foot. You wouldn't find this in Scotland, though.
Here we have something interesting. You see?
New leopard footprints. Sadly, we didn't see the owner of that footprint on our hike, but as the mist cleared and the day warmed up, we were rewarded with bird watching and some glorious scenery. This is it, World's End. Oh, wow. It was worth getting up at 5 o'clock just to see this. This is just incredible.
Yeah, like you can see all the view. Otherwise, if you're a little bit late, you can see that clouds coming over there.
Yeah.
Everything can be covered with the mist and cloud. That's why we call it World's End, because when you come to this area, if you cannot see anything, that's the World's End.
It's downhill all the way for the drive to Kandy, the gateway to the central province, a region bursting at the seams with historical sites, hence the tourism title of the Cultural Triangle. We stayed at Jetwing Kandy Gallery. Just 10 minutes drive from the city centre, a lovely riverside setting means you get the best of all worlds here. Easy access to cultural sightseeing, but also the luxury of space, peace and quiet, and ultra-modern 5-star facilities. There are 26 luxury rooms and suites, all with lovely river views. If you're an early riser, a bird-watching walk along the riverbanks with resident naturalist Bandera sets the day off to a great start. Kandy City demands at least a full day to explore. Surrounded by lush hills and centred around Kandy Lake, it's steeped in history and full of colour. Its best-known attraction sits in prime position at the far end of the lake. The Temple of the Tooth Relic is the most important Buddhist shrine in Sri Lanka, so it's really a must-see if you're in Kandy. You could easily spend a couple of hours here. There's lots to see. It's a huge complex with lots of different buildings, a museum, lots of different shrines. Most tourists will come for the drum ceremony, which has just stopped, which takes place 3 times a day. For tourists, 9:30 and 6:30 are the most popular times. After visiting the temple, take a lakeside stroll or watch the world go by in town before heading to the elegant and spacious botanical gardens, home to over 4,000 species of plants and trees. Kandy's also the starting point for the Peko Trail, a 22-stage, 300-kilometre mega hike. I walked stage 1 with local guide Ramli. Okay, so this is the first sign we've seen.
Yes, and this gives you the rundown of the first stage of the Peko Trail.
Okay.
So the whole distance is somewhere around 15 kilometers,
Yeah.
and we are at the crossroads somewhere over here. What you're looking at is pretty much Kandy in a nutshell. We started our trail from over there. We are surrounded by mountains, and right behind the mountain that the stupa is there, that is where the Kandy city is. Over there you get the Hantana towers, and then you get the lizards back, and then you get the peaks where Temple of Doom was filmed, and then you get the Boar's Rock over here.
It's incredibly accessible, isn't it? We're literally sort of 10 minutes up from Kandy.
Yes.
At the start of the trail.
Yeah.
And this whole trail takes around about 4 hours,
Yes.
15 kilometres.
Yes.
So tell me about the other stages.
When it comes to the second part, you get to focus more on the origins of tea. And
Right.
when it comes to the third part, you have like a camping experience over there. So every part individually has its own highlights and its unique
Yeah.
experience.
And you're getting higher, progressively higher and higher, aren't you, as you head up towards Nuwara?
Yes.
So
there,
presumably the walking gets tougher. This is relatively easy.
yeah, but you know what they say, right? The climb might be hard, but the view is great.
Yeah. The scenery all along the route is wonderfully varied, and having a guide with you makes all the difference. There's such good spotters. There's a black eagle.
It's the local version of cotton candy.
Ooh, street time. Spicy
So it's
candy
sweet.
flowers.
It's sweet and also it has flavor, not just sweet.
Difficult to eat. Oh yeah, it's not spicy. Oh, no, it is quite
Ah,
spicy.
I was waiting for that moment.
In contrast to candy, our next cultural stop was Sigiriya, designated by UNESCO as the 8th wonder of the world. Starting early in the morning to avoid the crowds, I took a tour with local guide Pradeep. Surrounded by an extensive network of gardens and reservoirs, Sigiriya is an ancient rock fortress built for King Kasyapa in the 5th century AD. To fully appreciate it, the only way is up.
Okay, still going. One step at a time.
Ah, my tip, it's working, right?
It's working, it's working. It is a big climb, and that's what most people want to do when
Yes.
they come here. But there's so much more to it than that, isn't there?
Yes, this is an amazing site, archaeological site in the Asia.
Yes.
You can learn about the engineering, hydraulic, and the architecture, landscaping,
Sustainability.
sustainable studies, everything in this site. If you can spend a day with Sigiriya, that will be the best thing that you can do. Nature lovers can have the nature, and the bird lovers, there's a bird sanctuary.
To end with this incredible views, the king chose a good spot, didn't he?
Exactly, exactly.
Just 5 minutes drive away from Sigiriya, Jetwing's Villawana is an extraordinary place to spend a night or two immersed in nature. Accommodation is in individual villas spread throughout the property. The hotel's resident naturalist, Cecita, told me more.
The idea actually for the property came from one of our board directors when he traveled to the UK. He saw the Barnes Wetland Centre, also known as the London Wetland Centre,
Yes.
which is also a man-made wetland centre. So he saw that that is a place where a lot of migratory birds come, and he was thinking, with the rich biodiversity that we have in Sri Lanka, why can't we create something like that here?
So this is a specially created wetland environment for all these animals. But I have to say the humans get it pretty good as well in this luxury accommodation. You can just lie here on a sun lounger with the pool and the beautiful lake behind, spotting all kinds of wildlife. Tell me some of the things that you might see.
So William actually has 157 resident bird species.
Wow.
We have one resident crocodile. She's usually around here almost all the time except when the water level rises. As well as we have few highlight species like the fishing cat, we have the Eurasian otter, the jungle cat, as well as the grey sender loris.
Yes.
we
So
have-
last night we had a very exciting tour. We're looking for the loris in the forest here. Actually, just the whole experience of going looking for it was exciting, and the beautiful starlit skies. That's a real experience.
It is,
And the loris is very important to
it
this
is
property,
very,
isn't
very
it?
important, and we are the only loris research and conservation site in Sri Lanka.
Yes.
People who come to Villuena, they know about the story, especially about the loris and the wildlife here. So most of them are wildlife enthusiasts, and as well as we get a lot who is looking for peace and quiet, which Villuena offers.
Yes, it certainly does offer that. It's a really wonderful place to stay.
Still with a waterside theme and still in the same area, another very different hotel option is Jetwing Lake. Strong Bower influences again here in cool and contemporary design and spacious rooms and suites, all with lovely balcony views.
During this trip, we've been staying at Jetwing Hotels, the largest hotel group in Sri Lanka. Now celebrating its 50th year, it's still very much a family-run business. From the very beginning, sustainability and commitment to community development has been at the core of what they do. So whilst each hotel is architecturally unique, across the group there's a real commitment to using sustainable energy resources and reducing each hotel's carbon footprint.
It's a record Jetwing are rightly proud of and happily share with guests on behind-the-scenes sustainability tours. I think post-COVID, everyone is thinking about how to travel better and choosing to stay in hotels that don't just talk about sustainability, but like Jetwing, can really demonstrate their commitment to it. Back on the cultural trail, just 5 minutes from Jetwing Lake, is the wonderful Dambulla Caves.
So now we are in a Dambulla Cave Temple. This is a very historical place, and also this is history goes back to the 2nd century BC. Second century BC. So the king Saddhatis is the first king. He found this place and offers to the Buddhist monk. This is a very important place, the Buddhist, because this is the place we can see the Buddha statue and also paintings.
There are many farms in the Dambulla area. It's an important distribution hub for Sri Lankan grown produce and especially well known for the amazing tropical fruits which you see everywhere on roadside stalls. Cricket fans will also know that Dambulla has an international stadium. Heading north from Dambulla, it's a 4 to 5 hour drive to Jaffna. The route is pretty much a straight drive up the A9 through the much flatter and sparsely populated landscapes of the north. The journey reinforces the change not just in landscapes, but the culture of the north, which owes as much to Hindu southern India as it does to Buddhist Sri Lanka. A warm welcome awaited us at Jetwing Jaffna. Located in the heart of the city, you can easily explore on foot or by tuk-tuk. There's no shortage of character and colour in town. The most notable tourist spots are the ruins of the Dutch fort and the historic Nalo Kandaswamy temple. So when you're in Jaffna, this is the place to come for ice cream, Rio ice cream, and you know it's the right one when you see the crowds lined up for their ice cream on a Saturday night. It looks delicious. Jaffna is especially renowned for its bird life, and a drive out on the Panay Causeway when the local net fishermen drag in their catch just as the sun comes up is the best time for bird watching. Another excursion is a drive around the whole peninsula to explore the coastline on this northernmost tip of the island. Coming up to Jaffna is really very interesting. It's so different to the rest of Sri Lanka. During the civil war years, of course, this whole area was off limits, and it was only really in 2016 that tourism started opening up. Then, of course, the pandemic hit, so it's only now that it's getting going again. I'd say it's an area for adventurous types who are interested in exploring an area that's raw, unmanicured, and at the start of its tourism journey. Coming back down from Jaffna, our final destination was Negombo, the closest beach option to the international airport, which is just 10 kilometres away. Negombo is a large and busy fishing port. Owing to the fact that back in the 16th century the Portuguese converted the local fishermen to Christianity, it's also dubbed Little Rome for its many Catholic shrines and well-attended churches. We stayed at Jetwing Lagoon, Geoffrey Bauer's first resort creation, faithfully and sensitively updated by Jetwing to include the addition of a rather impressive centrepiece. Well, we've seen many stunning pools on our travels around Sri Lanka, but this one takes the prize. At a full 100 metres, this is the longest pool in Sri Lanka. The hotel is the perfect place to unwind at the start or, like me, at the very end of your tour.
Well, I've been in Sri Lanka now for 6 weeks, and as well as all the experiences we've had and the wonderful hotels that we've stayed in, my memories will be dominated by the warmth and generosity of the Sri Lankan people. Always smiling, always willing to chat. I don't mind admitting, Sri Lanka has completely stolen my heart. Realistically, in a 2-week holiday, you could cover maybe 3 or 4 areas. Beach, safari and the tea plantations are a classic first-timer tour. All are really rewarding and well worth doing. But if you can, stay longer, see more. I promise you won't regret it.